My friends, let's talk about something that no one tells you. When a man hurts you, the most powerful response is not rage, it's not revenge, it's not begging for answers, it's confusion. Yes, confuse him, not by playing games, but by doing something he never expected, by taking back your power. Silence is power. It's a language of its own, one that speaks louder than words ever could. When someone expects a reaction from you, whether it's anger, sadness, or desperation, and you give them nothing, it creates an unsettling void they can't ignore. This isn't about playing games or pretending you don't care. It's about reclaiming your control and making a statement without uttering a single word. When a man hurts you, he assumes he has the upper hand. He assumes his actions will dictate your emotions, that he can stir a reaction from you, whether it's through disappointment, betrayal, or manipulation. But the moment you choose silence over emotional outbursts, the balance of power shifts. Suddenly, he's the one left questioning everything. He expected you to break, to beg, to plead for answers, but instead, you leave him alone with his own thoughts. And that silence, it becomes deafening. There's a psychological weight to silence. It forces the other person to reflect, to analyze, to overthink. When you don't react, he's left wondering what's going through your mind. Did she move on? Does she not care? Did I lose her for good? And that uncertainty, it's more powerful than any words you could ever say. People expect closure. They expect to hear the anger, the pain, the accusations. But when you deny them that, you take away their ability to justify their actions. You remove their chance to twist the narrative or shift the blame. Silence is also the purest form of self-respect. It means you refuse to engage in conversations that diminish your worth. It means you understand your value and won't waste your energy explaining why you deserve better. The more you argue with someone who has already hurt you, the more you validate their role in your life. But when you step back and say nothing, you send a clear message. I don't need to prove anything to you. My absence is enough. But here's where silence becomes even more powerful. It allows you to redirect your energy. Instead of obsessing over his actions or replaying the pain, you focus on yourself. You channel that energy into becoming stronger, happier, more fulfilled. And while he's sitting there wondering why you haven't called, why you haven't texted, why you seem unbothered, you're out there thriving. That's what truly shakes him. Not your anger, not your words, but the realization that his absence has not broken you, it has freed you. A man can only hurt you if you let him believe he still has a place in your world. Silence removes that illusion. It forces him to confront the reality that he no longer holds power over you. And in that moment, when he finally realizes he can't shake you, can't control you, can't pull you back in with his usual tactics, that's when he feels the true weight of his mistake. Silence isn't just absence, it's presence in its most commanding form. Change the narrative. When someone hurts you, the easiest trap to fall into is the one where you become the victim of the story. The one who was abandoned, disrespected, or taken for granted. It's natural to feel that way at first, to replay the moments in your head and wonder what you did wrong or why he treated you that way. But the longer you stay in that role, the more power you give away. The truth is, the story isn't about what he did to you, it's about what you do next. Imagine for a second that this pain, this heartbreak, isn't the end of your story, it's the turning point. The moment where everything shifts, not because he suddenly realizes your worth, but because you do. That's where the real transformation begins. You stop defining yourself by what happened and start redefining what happens next. Instead of asking, why did he do this to me? You ask, what am I going to do with this? That question alone changes everything. Most people stay stuck because they keep repeating the same narrative. They tell themselves the same painful story over and over, reliving the hurt, the betrayal, the disappointment. But every time you replay that story in your mind, you reinforce the idea that you were powerless in that situation, that you had no control, that you were just the person who got hurt. And as long as that's the story you tell yourself, it becomes your reality. But here's the thing, You get to rewrite the script. What if, instead of seeing yourself as the one who was left behind, you see yourself as the one who got a fresh start? What if, instead of focusing on how he broke you, you focus on how you rebuilt yourself? What if this wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to you, but the best wake-up call you ever received? The second you shift the story from "he hurt me" to "I found myself," everything changes. This doesn't mean ignoring what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It means choosing not to let that pain define you. It means using it as fuel instead of an anchor. Every setback, every heartbreak, every moment where you felt lost, it's all part of a bigger picture. And when you change the way you frame the story, you also change the way you feel about it. You stop looking at him as the villain and yourself as the victim. Instead, you see yourself as the hero of your own story. And do you know what happens when you do that? You take back your power. You start showing up differently, walking differently, speaking differently. You don't need closure because you are the closure. You don't need revenge because success is your response. And the best part, when you rewrite the narrative, the person who hurt you no longer has a starring role in your life. You do. And that's the most powerful shift of all. Unpredictability shakes him. Nothing unsettles a man more than realizing he no longer understands you, no longer knows how you'll react, no longer has the control he once believed he did. When a man hurts you, he expects a pattern: pain, reaction, pursuit. He expects you to reach out, to show your frustration, to ask for answers, to demand an explanation. But the second you break that pattern, the second you become unpredictable, you turn his entire perception of you upside down. Men thrive on certainty. They like knowing where they stand with you, how much you care, what you'll tolerate. They count on your emotions making you predictable. If he pulls away, he assumes you'll chase. If he hurts you, he assumes you'll fight for him. If he ignores you, he assumes you'll seek his attention. But when you do the opposite, when you disappear without a word, when you stop reacting, when you become unavailable, his confidence begins to crack. He starts questioning everything he thought he knew about you. When you become unpredictable, you break his emotional safety net. The comfort of knowing he can always come back, that you'll always be there, suddenly vanishes. He realizes he can't just reappear whenever it's convenient for him, because now he doesn't know what to expect from you anymore. And that feeling, that uncertainty, it's powerful. It lingers in his mind, gnaws at his ego, and forces him to rethink everything. This is where your strength becomes magnetic. Instead of reacting the way he assumes you will, you rise above the situation with grace and confidence. You don't send the angry text. You don't show up where he expects you to. You don't cry in front of him. You don't seek closure. Instead, you move differently. You radiate self-respect. You carry yourself like someone who was never defined by his actions in the first place. And that is what shakes him the most. When he finally reaches out, expecting you to still be there, and finds that you're distant, unbothered, or simply uninterested, it rattles him. The power dynamic shifts. He thought he could predict your every move, but now you're a mystery to him, and that makes you unforgettable. The more he tries to figure you out, the more he thinks about you, the more he thinks about you, the more he realizes what he lost. But by then, the irony is that you no longer care, because unpredictability isn't about getting him back or playing games. It's about freeing yourself from the role he expected you to play. It's about stepping into your power and becoming someone who doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't wait around for someone who failed to value you. And when a man realizes that, when he sees that he's no longer in control of the situation, that's when he truly feels the weight of his mistakes. Because the one thing he never saw coming was losing you for good. Raise your standards, not your voice. When someone disrespects you, the instinctive reaction is to prove your worth, to argue, to demand to be treated better. But the truth is, no one respects a standard that is only spoken. They respect a standard that is lived. A person who values themselves doesn't need to beg for better treatment because their actions already demand it. A man who hurts you expects you to fight for him, to try to convince him of your worth, to explain why he should treat you better. But the moment you step back and refuse to engage in that game, everything changes. You don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to justify your feelings. You don't have to prove anything. Instead, you silently show that you will not tolerate what doesn't serve you. And that quiet confidence, that unshakable self-respect, it's more powerful than any argument you could ever make. Think about the most powerful people in any room. They don't raise their voices. They don't need to. Their presence alone commands attention. That's the energy you bring when you raise your standards. That's the energy you bring when you raise your standard. You don't settle for breadcrumbs. You don't negotiate your worth. You don't try to convince someone to see your value. You simply are valuable, and they either step up or step aside. When you raise your standards, you change the way people treat you, not because you demanded it, but because you expect it. You set boundaries and stick to them. You show through your actions that you are not available for disrespect, inconsistency, or emotional games. You don't chase, you don't beg, and you don't settle. And you know what happens? The moment people realize they can't manipulate you with their usual tactics, they either rise to meet you or they leave. And when they leave, they make room for the people who actually deserve you. A man who truly wants to be in your life won't be scared away by your standards. He'll be inspired by them, because high-value people recognize and respect other high-value people. It's the ones who benefit from your lowered standards that will tell you you're asking for too much. But that's not your problem. Your problem is making sure that you never shrink yourself to accommodate someone who isn't willing to grow. When you raise your standards, something incredible happens. You stop feeling the need to explain yourself. You stop seeking closure from people who were never going to give it to you. You stop allowing situations to drain your energy. Instead, you move with clarity and certainty, knowing that anyone who doesn't meet your level was never meant for you in the first place. And the most powerful part, you never had to shout, argue, or plead. You simply walked away from anything that didn't align with the love and respect you deserve. And that alone is enough to change everything. Live your best life without him. Not to make him jealous, not to prove a point, not to wait for him to notice, but because your life was never supposed to revolve around him in the first place. The moment you shift your energy from what we could have been to what I can become, you reclaim your power. You stop waiting for an apology. You stop wondering if he regrets losing you. You stop measuring your worth by his attention. Instead, you turn all that focus inward, and that's when everything begins to change. The biggest mistake people make after a breakup or after being hurt is staying emotionally tied to the past. They keep checking his social media, overanalyzing his actions, and wondering if he still thinks about them. But what if, instead of waiting for him to come back, you started moving forward so fast that even if he looked back, he wouldn't be able to recognize the person you've become? That's the power of choosing yourself. That's the beauty of living your best life. Not to fill a void, but to create a version of yourself that's so fulfilled, so joyful, so at peace that his absence becomes irrelevant. When you start truly focusing on yourself, you rediscover the things that make you happy. You invest in your dreams, your health, your passions. You surround yourself with people who uplift you, not ones who drain you. You build a life so full that you don't need someone else to complete it. And that's when the shift happens, when you realize that the loss you thought would break you actually set you free. Men expect women to linger. They expect to have a presence in your mind long after they're gone. But nothing confuses a man more than realizing he no longer has an emotional hold over you. When he sees that you're not bitter, that you're not trying to prove anything, that you're simply happy, that shakes him. Because that's when he realizes that he was never the source of your happiness to begin with. There's something incredibly powerful about walking away and never never looking back. It's not about pretending you weren't hurt, it's about refusing to let that pain define you. When you step into the best version of yourself, you naturally outgrow the things that weren't meant for you. You stop questioning your worth. You stop craving validation. You stop waiting for someone to get it because you get it. You understand that your happiness, your success, your peace, none of it should ever depend on someone else's ability to see your value. And one day, without even realizing it, you wake up and realize that you're free. Free from wondering about him, free from hoping he notices, free from needing his approval, because when you live your best life without him, you don't just move on, you rise. And the best part? You never needed him to do it. Confidence over chaos. That is the choice that separates those who thrive from those who stay stuck. When someone hurts you, the temptation is to react, to prove a point, to show them what they lost, to demand the respect they failed to give. But reacting from a place of chaos only keeps you tied to the very situation you're trying to move past. True power isn't found in dramatic confrontations or emotional outbursts. It's found in the quiet, unshakable confidence of knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone else's behavior dictate your value. Chaos is emotional volatility. It's letting your pain control your actions. It's obsessing over what he's doing, who he's with, or why he treated you that way. It's proving your worth through arguments, through desperation, through trying to make him regret losing you. But none of that serves you, because every time you react from chaos, you give away your power. You allow him to dictate your emotions, to keep you on edge, to make you feel like you need closure or validation from him. But the truth is you don't. The moment you shift from chaos to confidence, everything changes. Confidence is restraint. It's knowing that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. It's the decision to walk away with your head held high instead of wasting energy on someone who was never capable of valuing you in the first place. Confidence is not blocking him and unblocking him just to check if he's watching. It's not crafting the perfect message to make him feel guilty. It's not manipulating the situation to get a reaction. Confidence is silence. It's presence. It's the ability to move forward without looking back. When a man sees that his actions no longer affect you, that you're not engaging in the back and forth, that you're not waiting for him to realize what he lost, that's when he truly feels the impact of losing you, because he expected you to fight, to chase, to crumble without him. But instead, you rise. And there is nothing more powerful, more magnetic than a woman who stands firm in her worth without needing external validation. Choosing confidence over chaos doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. It means channeling them into something that serves you rather than something that drains you. It means focusing on yourself, on your growth, your happiness, your future. It's pouring energy into things that make you stronger, not things that keep you stuck. It's the discipline to choose grace over drama, self-respect over revenge, and peace over proving a point. And the best part? The moment you embrace confidence, you no longer care about the reaction you once hoped for. You stop needing closure because you are the closure. You stop looking back because what's ahead of you is far greater. Confidence isn't about getting even. It's about leveling up in a way that makes the past irrelevant. And once you do that, the chaos that once consumed you becomes nothing more than a distant memory.